A darkness lurks in our world, spreading like a plague and corrupting whatever is in its wake. But it isn't the only darkness creeping in the Bayou. And do you believe its extermination is what the hunters are after? We previously spoke of the Sculptor, an entity that we believe is of Lore origins and is seemingly single-handedly the cause of the events of the Bayou. Lore, meaning spirits of Haitian voodoo and Louisiana voodoo. While the Sculptor might not be corporeal, its existence within the Bayou is undeniable and can be seen mentioned in various entries such as the Spiders and Crossbow Mastery. Its motives remain mostly unknown, but is it the only entity conspiring within the Bayou? How could it be? If such a strong entity, such as the Sculptor, was attracted to the Bayou of Louisiana, that in itself would turn the Bayou into a highly spiritual area. I have no doubt other Loa would be attracted to the presence alone, let alone the very reason the Sculptor was attracted to the area to begin with, lesser Loa included. I believe one of these lesser Loa to be no other than the Immolator. The Immolator is a creature that consists entirely of flames and whatever remains of the human body that it now dwells in after it is set ablaze. Slightly more intelligent than all the other creatures residing in the Bayou, with the understanding and ability to even open doors. But not to over-compliment the creature for its intelligence, for once it is angered, it will go in a blind rage, setting itself and all around it on fire, until nothing remains but ashes. As to why I believe it is not entirely under the influence of the Sculptor, rests in the Immolator's origins and a few other existing entries. The Immolator's entry in particular is not of the most exciting tales to tell, but a very important one nonetheless. Our story begins as a confession within the holy grounds of God. Many thugs and thieves existed during this period, and one had found himself within a confessional. The preacher dedicated himself and his attention to the confession through a yawn, for you'd hear these confessions from many during all hours of the day. Thieving, adultery, and lies, they all become so predictable and monotonous after a while. But a man of God he was, and this was his duty, he told himself, until the boy mentioned a particular crime he and his thieving crew committed. Another priest, under the name of Reverend Jeremy Byrne, was found tied and bloodied in his own church the previous week. You'd imagine that a subject of God would be accepting and loving of all. The preacher did not particularly like Reverend Jeremy Byrne though. But an attack on a subject of God could not go unpunished. And so now the preacher found himself perked up on the edge of his seat, listening to the boy's confession with anticipation. The boy mentioned two crimes: Reverend Jeremy Byrne being tortured and tied bloodied in his own church, which the preacher was well aware of. He had read it in the weekly paper. What the preacher was not aware of, though, was that the thieving crew paid Reverend Jeremy Byrne his second visit, taking him out to the Bayou. Taking a man out in the Bayou without a doubt spelled murder, and the preacher found himself clutching his rosary beads, for a most foul and unholy curiosity had taken over. He grew impatient and had urged the boy to hasten his confession. The boy was lost for words though. How do you even describe the screams of a man being engulfed by flames and attacking whatever came across him? It was as if the devil himself took hold of the man's body to bring justice upon the sinners. Ridiculous notion. The devil taking action against his own sinners. But I believe it to be true. Simply looking at the wrong devil. The entry continues in Reverend Jeremy Burns' perspective, only to reveal the boy was part of a gang called Black Hand. The Black Hand were a ruthless, fearsome gang. Reverend Jeremy Burns took notice of their actions and took it upon himself to preach against them, and who I'm assuming to be their leader, Charles Mandranga. Little fun fact, some of you might be familiar with the name, for Charles Mandranga was actually one of the first renowned gang bosses of the New Orleans crime family during 1857 and 1943, also known as Millionaire Charlie. Charles Mandranga was also among those charged with conspiracy in connection with the assassination of Hennessy, in which I mentioned in the Assassin's Lore. Putting aside fun facts and however vague and unfulfilling this entry felt, it raised a few questions and uncertainties. One uncertainty would clearly be Reverend Jeremy Burns' transformation, and the other to take Reverend Jeremy Burns specifically out to the Bayou. During this time period, the Bayou was riddled with plagues and unknown dangers. Entering the Bayou alone would not guarantee anyone's safety, including the gang members. As to Reverend Jeremy Burns' transformation, I have two possible theories. Countless times we've seen hunters take advantage of spiritual energies residing in the Bayou, one being tapping through dark sight in order to locate nearby threats. Reverend Jeremy Burns' spirituality as a priest could have rendered him capable of unconsciously tapping into spiritual energy residing all around him. His very strong conviction towards his God and his holy flames might also explain why the spiritual energy turned into flames. While I find this theory fascinating, I find my second one even more so. The Pax and Claw entries read about a certain individual called Lynch. I will not go into details about this person yet, saving her for another special occasion. But in this entry, Lynch is preparing the very inoculum that allows the hunters to traverse in and out of the Bayou while keeping away from the Sculptor's influence. Lynch begins by skinning a man while keeping him alive, then patiently awaits for the skin to dry. She then performs a ritual which attracts a Loa to the barely alive body and binds it with the very skin she patiently awaited to dry, finally distilling its body into a serum to provide to the American Hunters Association. What if the gang members unintentionally did the same? What if by taking Reverend Jeremy Burns out in the Bayou and torturing him, coincidentally attracted a Loa, and what we now see as the Immolator is in fact a Loa residing within a body? But could it all just be coincidence? Not everyone might have figured out a strong entity such as the Sculptor and other lesser entities are roaming the Bayou. But even so, the residents of Louisiana definitely misinterpreted it as a plague. Why would anyone enter grounds riddled with plagues simply to torture priests speaking against a gang's actions? Someone must be behind what seems like irrational arrangements to us, and whoever it might be is not only aware of the Bayou's secrets, but already ascertained gaining power through spiritual means is possible, and Reverend Jeremy Burns was simply the means of proving it. But who? I've spent countless nights pondering on this very question. Who could have possibly set this whole scheme up? Who could have had the knowledge to do so? At first, I had thought who else other than the American Hunters Association? Who other than the hunters themselves, in which dearly enjoy the thrill of the hunt and killing? They would have definitely gained to prove this theory and used it for themselves. We already ascertained that the American Hunters Association used methods such as the inoculum to gain spiritual powers such as the dark side. If not, could it be Lynch then? Lynch without a doubt has a strong connection with the Bayou and the Loa, but surely revealing such crucial information and knowledge could without a doubt jeopardize the whole operation she has going with the hunters. In that case, what about the Sculptor? What if the Sculptor himself was the one behind the scheme? A very old note even proves the association's suspicions not only of the Sculptor's existence, but also suspicions of the Sculptor's possible involvement within the very Hunters Association. But if that is the case, what could possibly be the Sculptor's drive for doing so? The Hunters without a doubt would acquire this information and use it to become more powerful and able to fight back. But alas, my suspicions lie on that very idea. On the idea of the Hunters taking advantage of the now acquired knowledge and increasing the association's thirst for more. This would inevitably prolong the huntings within the Bayou, and whatever the Sculptor's plans are, depend on exactly that, on the continuation of huntings within the Bayou, the preservation of killing, and without a doubt, banishing of both hunters and bounties is at the core of the Sculptor's master plan, whatever that may be. And the Hunters Association, believing to be progressing their own agenda, may actually be playing right into the Sculptor's hands. Thank you everyone for watching my video, and big appreciation towards the patience you guys have. It took me way too long to finish this one, and I had to redo the whole thing, not twice but 3 whole times, because of mistakes on my part and errors as well. So big thanks and big appreciations towards your patience. If you guys have any thoughts on the lore or my theories, don't hesitate to comment down below on the comment section. I'd like to mention there is now a Patreon link down in the description. I've been doing the voiceovers, video editing, and artwork in my videos, and a Patreon will greatly assist in increasing the production value by hiring a few artists to assist. And speaking of support, I'd like to thank all my subscribers and supporters until now, mainly my Twitch subscribers. You guys have supported me a lot until now, and I appreciate it. One last thing, next video is already on the work. It will be yet another Hunt Showdown video, but soon we'll be branching out of this game until, of course, more lore is released. Speaking of Hunt Showdown, there will be also live streams of it. Unsure if I will be streaming it on Twitch, but guaranteeing streams on Discord. Whoever wishes to check out the new Hunt Showdown content with me, including the new map coming out any moment now, don't hesitate to join Discord. Until next time.